Welcome, everyone, to episode 61 of the Highly Relevant Podcast. I am your host, Jack Rico, and this will be the last podcast of the year. We'll be returning again on January 5th, which is also the day that I'll be on the Megyn Kelly Today Show at 9 in the morning, recommending the top podcasts that you should be listening to for 2018, and Highly Relevant is going to be one of them. Let me sort of break down what's been going on for the last couple of weeks. And the reason we're not going to be doing any more podcasts is it's just too much work. I got family. I got my own stuff that I just want to kind of wrap up before the end of the year, kind of just take off and unplug. I know that probably a couple of other shows are going to be doing like recaps of all the podcasts that they've done, year-end shows. But listen, a lot of those podcasts are like major companies that have like a team of 30, 60 guys. This is just me. So I'd love to do all that, but you guys probably don't want that either, because you've probably heard every single podcast that we've done and probably heard most of the interviews. So I'd like to give you something fresh beginning next year. But I've been buying gifts for everyone. I'm sure you guys have done the same thing. Buying gifts for my wife has been the hardest. Especially because her birthday is like 2 weeks later. So I have to try and compartmentalize buying gifts for her specifically for Christmas. And then I got to buy gifts for her for her birthday, which is in January. And then leave enough for Valentine's Day. So yeah, it's been quite difficult, but I've got a bunch of awesome gifts. Also catching up on last minute movies. And I'm not necessarily talking about the sort of Oscar films, what's going to be nominated for the Oscars or anything like that, because I've seen most of them already. I want to see sort of the cheesy films that I never got a chance to because it was just a waste of time. Now, hopefully over the holidays, I'll have some time and kind of just get into some of those cheesy films. I saw one with my wife last night, 50 Shades Darker. And I know what all you guys are going to say. It's like, why are you watching that? It's like, I rented it. It's been, that franchise has been sort of very hyped up. Kind of wanted to kind of follow it through to see it to the end. And I got to tell you, very sexy film. I liked it. I didn't love it. What I did like was how the romance worked. I think Dakota Jackson is the star of that franchise. I think she's excellent. She has this like witty, cynical, sarcastic humor that I love so much. Incredible sex scenes. Those sex scenes were well shot. And for what it is, for that romance drama with a little bit of cheese, it's perfect. It's like some really good guilty pleasure comfort food. Besides that, I'm heading out to Miami. Going to be hanging out with the fam. Also worked on an NBCLatino.com article. It's a year-end review of Latino entertainment, which I'd love it if you can get a chance to read it over the next couple of days. Kind of see and recap everything that you might have missed throughout the year in terms of triumphs for our Latino culture. And besides that, a lot of news has been coming out in the last couple of weeks that sort of have had a lot of staying power. One of those is Disney looks like it officially bought Fox for a lot of money. And what everybody's starting to talk about is what this means for Marvel movie fans. But for me is, what does this mean for Netflix users? There's a lot of us. There's about 100 million subscribers of Netflix throughout the world. So we all kind of now live with Netflix. That's sort of like our new TV. Obviously, Netflix doesn't have live TV. Hulu has live TV plus a library. But what Disney is trying to do with this Fox deal is create a brand new platform to compete with Netflix. It's going to be an OTT, but it's going to have the library of Disney and Fox. Okay, what does that mean? Disney owns Star Wars. Disney owns Pixar. Disney owns their own library of animation and amazing movies, some of the best movies in the world. And they also own the Indiana Jones brand. So just that alone is going to be just housed and archived into this new OTT, which means they're going to remove, oh, by the way, they also own Marvel, right? And they're going to remove all the Marvel content off of Netflix, like Daredevil, Punisher, and they're going to put it into this new platform that they have. And then they're also going to use all the Fox brands, right? Because it's only their movie stuff, which they have a lot of, but X-Men is going to be sort of a key one to sort of integrate into that Marvel universe. So imagine they just start spinning off like Star Wars original shows, a spin-off on just Luke Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi, or just a Darth Vader sort of origin story, right? Directed by, who knows, Andrew Stanton. I mean, this is the type of stuff that we're talking about, that they could take every single amazing movie or TV show or animated film and literally sort of extend or expand that particular storyline in so many ways through television, and all that stuff would be original content on this new show. If they pull that off and somehow add ESPN and sports into that, how can that not be amazing? I might actually just have to cancel Netflix or just keep both. But it's going to definitely be a rival and a competitor to Netflix. So it'll be interesting to see what this Disney Fox deal ultimately sort of pans out to be. Also, a couple of news stories that have shocked me. 2 stories in particular about CEOs that have stepped down. Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google, Alphabet is what they're calling it now. He stepped down. No word on that. John Skipper from ESPN left. He resigned. He stepped down. He's not a CEO, but he was sort of like the linchpin that sort of was tying ESPN together on a creative level. And so he's out supposedly because of drugs, some sort of addiction that he's had. Nothing was really explained. And then John Schnatter. You guys know who he is? He's the CEO of Papa John's Pizza. He also is out as CEO. No word officially on why, but everybody's saying it's because of the negative NFL remarks he made. Who knows what happens, man? I mean, all this sexual harassment stories that have been going on, like John Lasseter over at Pixar, they're not being descriptive on why, except that we can all maybe assume that maybe all of these are tied together on sexual harassment. Again, none of this is official. I'm just going out here and giving my own personal assumption and opinion. And that they didn't want any of that stuff out because of families, et cetera, et cetera. You don't want it to be the Matt Lauer debacle. So then maybe they just said, look, why don't we just say this? And then I can just resign, step down, not say too much about it, and then off on my way. Give me a severance package, or maybe not even. And they just sort of disappear into the ether. And none of us ask questions just because we have our hands full with Donald Trump. Yeah, but interesting that all this happened like within the last 2 weeks. It's insane. They're falling like flies. And then Apple is facing multiple lawsuits. And check out over why. Supposedly, somebody put out a story, and I think they even admitted it themselves, that Apple has deliberately started slowing down the battery of iPhones through updates. We all kind of knew that that was happening because all of our phones, every time a new phone comes out with a new update, the old phones that we have, I still have an iPhone 6, start slowing down tremendously, even if you remove a lot of the storage and kind of leave it halfway through, it still slows down. My phone's crashing all the time. Today I was talking and I couldn't even see the screen because it was black. Had to hang up the phone, restart the phone, reboot the phone. So it's like a little bit of a pain in the ass. But another piece of news that I found quite interesting was the fact that Hamilton made its debut in London on the West End. How did the British people receive this American story? Well, looks like Lin-Manuel went there, and on probably opening night, right after the show, he addressed the crowd and basically made an announcement that he barely sort of tweaked the show. He might have tweaked the little things here and there, but not much. He says so far it's been a hit, a phenomenon, much like the way it was here, especially with the King of Britain segment, where looks like the Brits gave standing ovations every time he came out. I mean, look, the angle on this is very different from American to British and British to American, obviously. You know, they were the conquerors coming in here to own America, and we stopped them. So it's interesting to see how they perceive that, and looks like they're loving it. But it's time now to talk to Vanessa Vasquez, who plays Camila Barrios on East Los High. If you don't know what that show is, it's an original series done by Hulu. It's a U.S. Hispanic show that revolves around the lives of a group of teens navigating their final years at a fictional high school in East L.A. So think 90210 meets East L.A. high schools.
Piece of advice, Camila? Don't quit your day job at the 99-cent store.
Oh, hold up. You mean where your mom buys her maid supplies? Sucia? No.
Where your mama buys her condoms.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. Vanessa, great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. Super excited.
Yeah, well, this is one of the rare podcasts. It's a U.S. Latino podcast, and it's not necessarily meant for Latin Americans in Latin America. It's meant for Latinos who are born and raised in the U.S. and have more of an American culture, and who probably speak English first, Spanish second. And it's funny, as I'm telling you this, I feel like I'm describing East Los High.
I was going to say, I feel like you're describing me right now. So.
And you, right? So I mean, this is like a perfect conflation of these two worlds kind of colliding.
Exactly. Yeah.
What have your experiences been so far with the show? What kind of reaction and feedback have you gotten from Latinos? Is it consistent, or do you have different types of Latinos giving you different types of feedback?
No, it's all kinds of Latinos, but more than anything, it has been, I want to say, American Latinos, because people who have been pretty much raised here since they were kids. And I want to say that because there's a lot of undocumented people who have been living here who are Americans as well, who relate to being American, just don't have the papers. But when you grow up here as an Latin American Latin, which I like to say, is they're all coming to the show and seeing themselves for the first time. I've been talking about that today, how so many people resonated with the show, who felt like they saw themselves, their family members, their friends, their cliques in school is like, yo, that was me growing up, or like, that's still us, this is how my friends and I kick it. So, it's been such a cool experience because it's so refreshing to see this side of our culture, this side of our society, that doesn't get the light shown on us so much.
Yeah, what is going on with that? I mean, East Los High on Hulu is the show that every sponsor, every marketer, every programmer says that they want. And it's here, yet it's never seen the light of day on broadcast or cable. It stayed on Hulu, and you guys, to me, have been one of the landmark sort of pioneer shows for the type of Latino programming that major networks want. Why do you think that the show? Do you think the show came way too early and it wasn't appreciated enough for today's sort of marketplace, or what happened with the show that it never really, I guess, took off in scale and became that viral hit for today's youth generation?
Well, one thing to keep in mind is that dealing with cables and huge networks who have already been in place is that they have a certain standard of certain amount of, let's say, I want to say diversity that they have to include, right? There's the token Latino, the token Black guy. There hasn't ever really been a show that's fully Latin American. And I think that was one of the risks that the producers were taking, and showing, having a show with an all Latino American cast that was being presented as general market, as just American.
Which is Jane the Virgin. I mean, we have that show, right? Except it's not high school, but it's an all Latino cast. It's meant for a mainstream audience, yet it maintains its Latino essence. And again, I feel like I'm describing East Los High. So why?
Well, even with Jane the Virgin, there's a lot of cast members who are Caucasian, and ours was strictly Latino American, and it did come before Jane the Virgin. And so whenever the show came on, the producers wanted to take that risk, just to sort of infiltrate ourselves as yes, the show is all Latin, but just like the shows like Martin, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, you don't have to have the token this, the token that to make something acceptable. And I actually I appreciate the fact that they came on a little strong about it. Like, you know what, let's test this out. And it's been a huge hit. It still is a hit. Unfortunately, because Hulu is still a network that's still growing, and people are finding out about it. I think it will take maybe about a year or two until people will actually discover and say, "Oh my God, this show has
Right.
been on Hulu. Like, it's been out for a while. It's groundbreaking, but it's it did that this." And I think, yeah, like you said, it did maybe come in too soon, but the fact that it took a chance sort of created that um, domino effect, so that other producers can take with that the success of it and say, look, this show, East Los High, is doing amazing on Hulu. How we got this other show, and they can take the success of this show, what we've done, and then be able to create more
So build
with it.
upon it, right?
Yeah.
How long has the show been on already?
I want to say 6 years.
And in those
Yeah.
6 years, could you kind of recap what the show's been about in these 6 years for those that don't know about the show yet, and they're probably dying to look for Latino content?
Yeah. No, the show is awesome. It's been ever since the show started, it's been about excuse me. The show's been about the life of teenagers growing up in East LA and what their life is like, and things that they have to deal with, social issues at home, the drama. And also there's a big dance element to it. There's hip hop, the culture that we grew up with, with just sort of like an R&B feel, hip hop feel, and it's cool, it's fun, it's sexy, it's Latinos, it's American, and we're speaking in English and Spanish, and it's been such a it's such a fun show. You'll find everything from comedy to extreme drama that relates to social issues that other shows aren't even talking about, like abortion, sexual assault, abuse, bullying.
It sounds like
Those
90210, the Latin version.
Yeah, it is. Only it's a little bit more hyped up though. Once you see it, you're like, oh my God, it's a little edgier. But that's that also goes back to Hulu. They gave us that platform to be able to take a risk.
Right.
Of course, like they don't have the restrictions like cable networks do, in which they can't say or do certain things. They had a lot more freedom, and I think that's part of the huge reason why the producers left it at Hulu's, because they were able to tell the truth, the real story of it, not have to cookie cut it in any certain way.
I understand that East Los High is in its final season. The finale event is happening.
Yeah.
Tell me about what that's been like for you to say goodbye to the show now after 6 years, with friends and memories that have been attached to. I mean, 6 years ago, you were probably just starting in the business, and this was probably your big break.
Yeah.
What is that chapter like ending?
Well, I came on in season 2 when they had new storylines develop. Like, they had the first season start off, and then they didn't know the show was going to be such a huge hit, and they came back with season 2, and they had to start new storylines. But even then, when I was watching it season 1, I had auditioned for a smaller role because I had just gotten to Hollywood, and I was just so excited because there were so many stories being told, and I felt like this show could go on for many seasons, and I saw it go on for like 10, 12, 15 seasons. I was like, oh my God, they can go on for a long time, like a novela.
So funny.
And so, yeah, I felt like, we grew up, we all knew that we're joining and doing something amazing and special, and it was going to be groundbreaking, incredible, a very pioneering show for our people, our community, our culture. And so we all got close in that sense. And it was like on set, it was like a huge party. So whenever the show was over, they said that we weren't going to have another season. I think I'm still crying, to be honest.
Wow.
It's just, it's been the fans have been incredible. I think the feeling that you get from the fans, they're not just watching any other show. They're watching themselves for the first time. They're discovering their own identity through media. And it's such an incredible feeling that you get when you meet the fans, like that you could just see the happiness and joy beaming from their faces, that, they see someone that relates to them and feels like they understand them. So yeah,
one of the cast members, Gabriel Chavarria, ended up doing a movie about East LA called Lowriders. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see that, but then I ended up interviewing him for War for the Planet of the Apes, and he had a lot of screen time at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
and I was like, what has it been like for you as a colleague and a peer to see, one of these East Los High castmates make it to the top of the movie business in Hollywood from your perch?
Whenever I saw Gabe in Planet of the Apes, I immediately texted him and I was messaging him and I was like, dude, watching you be there like gives me hope that we can all be there, and I think that the fact that, when you see your peers and everybody that you surround yourself with, you hang around with, and, it's like they say, birds of a feather flock together.
Right.
Eventually we're all going to be flocking there if we're not already there, some of us, so I think just surrounding yourself with good people and knowing that the people around you are always supportive, and we support him. And, he's, we hang out all the time, and it's like, it's been an incredible feeling because it just also gives you encouragement that all the work that we're all feeding into each other, into the show, is definitely creating a platform for all of us to bounce off and do more amazing things.
Now, I want to talk to you about your own personal career. I'm sure you've been going out to a lot of casting auditions.
Mm-hmm.
What are the kind of roles that you're being asked to do, and how do you see the bigger scale scope of Hollywood? Are you getting a lot of roles for Latinas, or are you getting roles where you happen to be a Latina by nature, but the role is maybe ambiguous in terms of race or ethnicity?
I'm getting actually a lot of types of roles. One thing that when I did come off the show in the very beginning of the summer, I was auditioning for a lot of other lead characters in other TV shows, and I began to cry because almost every single one of those lead roles required nudity. And
wow.
It's not that I have a problem with it. I think it'd be great, but for the fan base that I've created with East Los and the amount of young girls that follow me, and with Latinas being statistically the most nude in media.
Is that true?
Yes, that's absolutely true. You can Google it, and we are the ones who always presented as sexy, or we take off our clothes the most. And to feed into that statistics, but you also want the job, you want the story, you want to tell the story. Oh my God, it's so hard, to make that decision. And
I'd hate to think that that's a stereotype of, let's say, white American casting directors or producers or just directors, period, who stereotype the Latina as the sexually beautiful objectification of their fantasies. And yeah, let's get her in so we can see her naked. I'd hate to think that that's it, but is this something you frown upon, or is this an opportunity?
No, it's just part of it, but I feel like as the rest of the year continued, I started seeing more and more roles pop up, and I had to be very vocal about it. And I told my agent, my manager, and I said, look, yes, I am a Latina, but I'm also an American. I can play any other role, like a lawyer or a doctor or anything else, just like anybody of any color. So I think having that awareness and using it to your benefit to be able to speak up against some of the stereotypes that are out there, really you sort of have to push the envelope yourself, and say, hey, I can do this. I do deserve this, and I do deserve to be here. We deserve to be here and taking these roles and also being a part of society as anyone else. But also with that, I learned from Edward James Olmos and a few other actors when I first got here that if we want to help push that envelope in which we are seeing more Latinos in lead roles, we definitely have to take on the part as producers and storytellers ourselves. So that's something that I've been doing in the past 6 months, and maybe I can talk about this a little bit. I'm actually working with Lionsgate right now on developing a TV show. So, and
Nice.
with that, yeah, and because of East Los, it's given me that platform to have that experience as a lead actress, also as producing, and to go to other networks and with other producers and create more stuff and say, look, I've learned this from East Los. I got all this. Now I want to develop this story, and people do pay attention because, we have the experience now. So I definitely encourage anyone who's out there who wants to tell their stories, who isn't seeing themselves or isn't seeing the stories that they want to see and be told, to definitely go for it. Write your stories, produce as much as you can, get together, grab the camera. We live in the age of social media where
Create.
you can create and put a movie on YouTube and it can get 3 million views, and next you're getting an offers to make a movie about it.
Right.
So I'm a huge advocate for creating your own content, and really pushing and telling creating the stories that you want to tell.
It's just do it. Just do it. Just go ahead and do it and stop talking about it so much and just do it.
And honestly, I can't thank East Los and Hulu enough for giving us that opportunity to just do it. I think the network, the producers, they just did it. They saw a vision and they were like, we're gonna go for it, and it was success. And I think it's gonna be a continuing success for a long time. And that's given us a platform to do the same thing, and the energy and the inspiration more than anything.
The Golden Globe nominations just came out on Monday, and I don't think one Hispanic was nominated in terms of acting or outside of Guillermo del Toro and director, but the actors, there are no Hispanic actors in film.
See, that's what I'm saying, Rico. We gotta get out there,
right? But the gap is vicious. It's not like, African Americans can say, well, we got 2 in there. It's not 7 or anything like that. They can count people that are always involved. I know that women, white American women like Patty Jenkins, even African American women like Dee Reese, they're involved in the mix. They're the talk of the town right now, and they're diverse and it's inclusive. Great, but the Latino story, once you tell it from the Latino perspective, you start losing all the actors, all those subject matters that are important for our Latino storytelling. For example, Coco, great. I love Coco. 3 weeks in a row, Latino story, Mexican, but they're animated characters.
Right.
And even though they're being voiced by real actors, we're not seeing them on screen. So ultimately, are we struggling right now, or are we fooling ourselves, telling ourselves that everything is good? Or is this a real problem? And if this is a real problem, what is the root of it?
I can say that, yes, I don't want to say it's a problem because...
you're in the hustle. You should have a front row seat to what's going on.
You know what the problem is? The problem is that there isn't enough people saying, yes, we can do this as well. I think the industry has been dominated so much by a certain type of culture, right? But now with so many platforms and so many networks out there, being able to tell these stories, like even Sofia Vergara, she's just joined up to do Race TV, who was to put more Latino American content out there streaming. I think there's not enough people saying, yes, we can do this in the entertainment field as well. And so I think once we get people and start offering more scholarships, encouraging our youth that the arts is an amazing thing, and to tell our stories, we need more storytellers out there. Edward James Olmos with the Latino International Film Festival has a great program that he does with the youth and encouraging screenwriting and storytelling. And they're huge advocates for getting young Latinos started early and encouraging them to be creative and put little movies together. So I think it's just where we are at, and it's important to know that there is a need, there is a demand, and this is important for us to say, yes, we can do it and we will do it. And it is happening. We may not see it yet, but I think within the last few years, I've been seeing more and more Latino shows pop up, more and more roles asking for Latinos that I don't think I ever really saw ever before.
Right.
So I think we are heading there. It's just a matter of also, good storytelling. We have to make sure that we're telling the stories right. I see a lot of friends who do put things together, but then they're not successful in it because they cut corners here and there. It's like, oh, we don't need this. Oh, we don't need that. But the thing is that we do need it. And you can't be afraid to ask them for the money, because in having the money to do certain things and create quality content, then you can able to have a successful
that's the key, quality.
Yeah, a successful product to continue going and to feed back to your investors. This is my producer hat going on. But you know what I mean? It's like, we can't be afraid. I've been going to a lot of women's conventions too for Latinas, in which Latinas are leading in entrepreneurship right now. And one of the things that they tell us is that you can't be afraid to ask for money. We're so timid as people to ask for it, but knowing the more that we ask, the more the quality product we can create, and the more we can return investment and continue to do what we love to do.
I think the takeaway from this whole interview that we just did is just do it.
Just do
Seriously.
it.
Just ask for the money. Just create your own show. Just do it.
And very much like the stories that we're telling on East Los High, it doesn't matter where you come from, how you were born. If you have a will to succeed, a vision, a dream, go for it. Believe in yourself more than anything, and know that somehow, some way, it's going to be possible, and that vision that you have will come true.
Hey, Vanessa, listen, everything you're saying is inspiring. Please come back when you have your next project. Would love to continue to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you. You're amazing.
All right. Vanessa Vasquez, East Los High finale event. You can watch it on Hulu. Thank you, Vanessa. Thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thanks, Jack.
That's it for episode 61 of the Highly Relevant Podcast. Thank you, Vanessa Vasquez, for being on the program. And thank all of you that have been tuning in from day one until now, and giving us your time and your support for this podcast. I'm telling you, it's hard to do these podcasts, hard to find the time to do it, but I try to give my blood, sweat, and tears to make you guys happy with what you listen to. Our mission has always been to connect the U.S. Hispanic culture, the pop culture aspect, and connect it to the mainstream, and see how that collaboration is born, how that collaboration happens, what makes it tick, what makes it spark. And I think we've captured sort of a great snapshot of the year, and we want to do it again for next year. It all depends on you guys. Hopefully we'll continue to have your support. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and if I don't talk to you then, happy 2018. I hope it kicks ass, and let's keep this up. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Highly Relevant Podcast. I am Jack Rico. Goodbye.